Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today we're going over a topic that you guys seem to like, and that is secret things in Wizard101. The video I made the other day on secret trainers did really well, you guys seem to really like it, so I figured I'd follow that up with another secret aspect of this game, and that is secret bosses. Now, what do I mean by secret bosses, because some of you may not know? Well, these are bosses that are either not associated with a quest at all. This is all of them except one, I believe, has a quest associated with it, but these are bosses that you wouldn't normally find and need to actually physically go out of your way to find. Not all of them have interesting drops, but the main caveat here is that none of them really have a quest associated with them. Some of them are easier to find than others, and some of them are actually more worth doing than others. So without further ado, let's get into some of these because they are interesting. I will also say I could not find many of them in the later worlds. I only have up to Avalon here. I actually, for some reason, I couldn't find them. That either means that there isn't secret bosses past Avalon, or they're just not online. So if you know of any that I potentially missed, leave them in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first one, I had to do all of Cast and Science Lab to get here, but you can see here when you come up to here, Grandmother Raven's like, wow, you could probably bridge that gap, find some wooden planks. So what you need to do is collect these wooden planks throughout all of Cast and Science Lab. Now I will say, obviously I said throughout all of Cast and Science Lab, you can literally just get them right here. They're not hard to find at all. They're just these little bundles of wood. There's number 3. And finally, here's number 4.
You found more wooden planks.
So now you can build a bridge across. Now, what does this get you and what boss is this? Well, actually, across that gap, for some reason, there is a boss named Smogger. Now, Smogger, if you don't know, is a 3,200 health storm boss who you can kill and get the badge Smogger Smasher. Now, this, I will say, is probably one of the more well-known secret bosses. This one and the other Marleybone one aren't actually very secret because a lot of people know about them, but if you didn't know about them, here you go. This is how you get to this one. Bridge across. You don't even need to do Cast and Sign yet. You can just ignore him for now. And you come here to Smogger, who you can eventually be in a fight. Now, some of these do have drops, so I will go over some of these. But for this one, what are the main drops? Realistically, there is the badge Smogger Smasher, and there's also some school insignia gear. So if you've ever wanted to get school insignia gear, like I know this drops some balance gear and I farmed it on my balance, this could potentially be good for you. I'm not sure whether you'd actually want to farm it or not. Look up and see what insignia gear he has, and then potentially go from there. But you can see I actually got some myth boots here, so Smogger Shoes of Atlantis, there you go. Got the I believe these are the Daredevil boots. I think that's what branch this is called. A pretty good pair of boots that I actually really like. I'm going to lock those. Not going to use them, but I am going to lock them. But they are a pretty cool thing, and this is just the first secret boss, so pretty cool. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so I'm actually not going to do the next one because the next one would take a little bit for me to do. Like, it would take me another 10 to 15 minutes to actually get there, and I don't really want to do that. So for now, I'll just explain kind of what it is. So here in Big Ben, obviously, I'm sure this one is probably the least secret boss of these secret bosses. I'm sure most people know about it. There is milks every few floors. There's a cup of milk just kind of sitting there, and I'm sure as a kid you all went up to it and went, ooh, what's this milk? Interact with it, and it spills over, and Spike the Crusher is like, oi, don't spill that milk again or I'll come and get you, I swear it. And you're like, okay, calm down there, Spike the Crusher. Sure, I won't spill any more milk. But then you spill 2 more milks anyway, and he appears in the second to last floor. He has like 4,000 health. He's a fire boss. Honestly, he isn't that difficult. Maybe at level 25 or so, he's pretty difficult, but he's not any level above that. As long as you have 4-pip AoE, you're probably fine. But either way, he's probably not that difficult of a boss to fight. You fight him, you beat him, and you get the badge Crusher, alliteration and stuff. He also drops some insignia gear similar to Smogger. I think that's what a lot of these earlier bosses were supposed to do, is drop insignia gear so that you can potentially farm and get for it. Again, this is probably the least secret of the secret bosses. I'm sure almost everyone knows about Spike the Crusher, but he's here and he's worth mentioning again. So let's go to the actual more secretive bosses. All right, so next up, and the first boss in Mooshu, is actually a pretty fun one, I'm not going to lie. This one right here is named Yakido, and I believe he has 5,000 health and is a fire boss. Now, how you summon this one is you can see that there are these flags here in the Crimson Fields in the battlefield area. what you need to do is you need to raise all of the flags when the battlefield section of the quest rolls around. So when it says clear out the battlefield, they're attacking or whatever, he will spawn. So he won't actually spawn immediately when you raise all of these flags. As you can see, he is not here. I just raised all of them, but he will spawn right here. Again, 4,500 health, fire boss maybe 5,000. Again, not sure whether the 20% health reduction has happened to him or not, but he's a pretty cool boss, and he obviously drops insignia gear, as I've been mentioning. These first few bosses all kind of drop insignia gear, which is pretty cool. He actually drops the Myth Elegant hat. That's where I remember farming for it, if I remember properly. But either way, he's a pretty cool boss. No badge associated with him. And again, he is a bit more difficult than probably most Mooshu enemies and even most Dragonspyre enemies, but he's here if you want to fight him. Secret boss. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so next up we actually have two bosses, both in the Tree of Life, and the final two bosses of the Mooshu secret bosses. The first one is right here in this building. So you can see here, you follow the path from this main area, take a left, keep going straight, and then take another left, and you can see it's in this very bottom house right here. You go inside and you have Akuji, a rank 6 boss with about 4,000 health. Nothing too crazy at all. Death boss. This one is definitely one of the more secret bosses because this one doesn't have a badge or quest associated with it at all. Again, there's actually two in the Tree of Life, which is really strange. I don't know why they put two secret bosses in the same area, but they did, and it's pretty cool. So let's beat them up real fast. I looked at his drops, and for some reason it actually doesn't look like he drops any insignia gear. So I don't really know the purpose of this boss. He just kind of exists. He's not really there for any particular reason. He doesn't even give you a badge. He just, you know, drops some pretty average Mooshu gear, and he's here. So if you want to fight Akuji, here you go. All right, so this next one is a secret boss. I'm sure a little bit more people know because it has a badge associated with it, and it is again farming for insignia gear. You come here to this final building. You can actually take this teleporter right here, Crimson Bridge, and just walk into it. And as you can see, a rank 10 boss, significantly harder than the last boss. This boss is actually a little bit of a challenge, especially this level. You can see 6,400 health, nothing to be scoffed at in Mooshu. That is the health of a Winter Tusk / Celestia boss. It's pretty cool. He doesn't have any main cheats to be concerned with, but once again, he does have some pretty cool drops. So he gives you the badge Sword Saint. So if you've ever seen that and you're like, oh, that's a cool badge, this is how you get Sword Saint. And he also drops some insignia gear. I know he drops at least one elegant hat. I don't remember which one. I just remember farming him for it. And overall, just a cool boss. So let's beat him up real quick. All right, and that should be it. Yep, there you go. Beat him up. Boom. Sword Saint, and I got a few robes. So got Yokai's Cloak of Kindness, which is the Balanced Elegant robe. I also got this robe? No, that I didn't get that robe. I got this robe. Basically, he's here if you want to fight him, and that is the last secret boss of Mooshu. Now, I will say, these, in my opinion, are the last bosses that are intended to be like secret, hidden, out of the way bosses, at least entirely. Most of the rest of these on this list, I think, are more filler bosses that were kind of put there just for the sake of being put there, but I'm still going to list them as secret bosses because, again, they don't have a quest associated with them, and they're just rather interesting to know about. So let's move on and visit those. All right, so next up is actually two bosses that aren't really associated with anything but are here in Dragonspyre. If you remember, in the Plaza of Conquest, in the main quest, you fight the, I believe, the Sea Lord over there, and then you also fight the Earth Elemental over here. But there's actually two more pillars down here that unlock, I believe, when you complete the street. There's no real reason to do these. These guys don't actually give any drops really at all, and they're just like more challenging than regular bosses for no reason, but they do exist if you want to do them. And you can see I summoned Caravan over there, and I can also summon Gurtok Demon right here, a balance boss. Again, these guys don't really drop anything. They don't have a badge associated with them, but they're here if you want to fight them for some reason. Just pretty cool. You can challenge them. They're challenging bosses technically, so if you want to challenge, go for it. All right, now I'm not actually going to go inside because this would take a long time to walk around to every boss, but if you don't know, in the Grand Spire there's actually 3 separate bosses that can all be beat up if you want to. There actually might be 4, not entirely sure, but if you didn't know, there's obviously the 2 Gurtok demons. You don't actually need to beat those. You can walk around them, but if you didn't know, you can beat them, and they both drop some interesting things, and technically basically some crown gear. It's not like any interesting crown gear. It is just these Dragonspyre bundles down here, question mark. I can't actually find it, but it is basically just some very simple crown gear, nothing too interesting and nothing good at all. But the other bosses that I'm talking about, I'm sure you might have seen them at some point when walking through the Dragon's Maw, or just like those little side sections up the Great Spire. It's basically just a boss that's standing there. No one knows why he's standing there, but he is, and you don't even need to beat him. You can choose to skip him if you want to, but he's there. No good drops again, but an interesting little secret boss technically. All right, so next up in Grizzleheim, and again, I'm not going to beat these ones. I'm just going to talk about them. I'm sure most people actually know about them, but in Nidavellir down here, there is 2 dungeons, the Hall of Valor and the Helgrund Warren. Now, if you don't know, I've mentioned this in a past video when talking about things. It was a few days ago. I don't remember why I was talking about it. Oh, I was talking about whether it's worth doing Grizzleheim or not. You can actually do these 2 dungeons, Helgrund Warren and Winterdeep Warren, to actually make the Hall of Valor go faster and not have to fight like 4 bosses with Jotun. I don't know whether it's worth doing. Again, these side areas have quite a few bosses in them actually, and technically they're hidden bosses and secret bosses because you don't need to do them, but they are through here if you want. These are kind of like a side challenge. There's no real reason to do them, to be completely honest, but they're there if you want to actually do them. And can I just say, this area is really cool. Like, I wish that this area was utilized more. Like, look how cool this area is. Honestly, pretty sick, not gonna lie. All right, next up is a boss in Ravenscar. It's down this little tunnel. You can see here, you come out here into the glacial waste, come down this tunnel, and he's just kind of chilling here. He's called Nightwing, just a Black Crow boss that is here for some reason. Now, this boss, for some reason, he drops couch potatoes, so obviously that's a reason to do him. But to be honest, he doesn't drop couch potatoes probably as much as other enemies that you can easily farm compared to this 5,000 health boss. So I would highly recommend farming them over farming Nightwing. But he does drop couch potatoes. That's really probably the only reason why he's here. He doesn't drop anything else of value. He's not interesting. He's not in any other quest. He's just here. So that's another secret boss, no badge associated with him, and the last one of Grizzleheim that I will talk about. Now, technically, I do believe that there's actually another one in Sarasted Pass. If I remember properly, there's a boar that's just roaming around in the camp. I could talk about him, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to mention him in passing here. He has like 900 health. He's not really anything challenging like the rest of these secret bosses. He's just there. So whatever. As you can see, I got a whole lot of nothing, but the Nightwing is here if you want to fight him. All right, now we're coming up on the end of the video. I only got technically 2 more things to show you. The first is actually my one exception to the side quest rule. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because technically fighting these bosses is not part of the side quest. You can do the side quest without fighting the bosses and very easily just get away with it and not do it. But I believe Zeeth Battle Weaver here is the side quest you need to do. Basically, you finish up a side quest, and you can see here at the end of this area, there are these 5 pylons. These pylons can actually be activated from left to right, and what they do is they will summon a boss depending on which pylon you use. There is technically 5 secret bosses here. Now, these all have cheats, and these all have actually interesting cheats. I'm not going to go into them. If you want to fight them, you'll have to learn them for yourselves, but they are interesting bosses that are here for basically no reason. They all have like 10,000 health, and they're summoned right here. I don't know why that these weren't part of the side quest or whatever, but they weren't, but they're able to be summoned if you do the side quest. Obviously, I haven't done it, so you can see I can't summon them, but they do exist if you want to. All right, so this one is actually super interesting, and I didn't know about it until yesterday, but when I found out about it, I was like, wow, this exists, and I don't know why. So this right here is the Mysterious Well. Now, this actually unlocks when you beat, I believe, Morgrim on the previous street and get into the outer yard. You can enter it immediately through this dungeon sigil, and it's just here. Now, why this is interesting is there's actually 2 reasons. First off, there is this boss right here that you can find, but that's not it. There's actually a random chance, like a coin flip, of either getting this boss or another boss. Now, these guys have a little bit of cheats. As you can see, this one cheat casts Dr. Funkastenstein right away. The other one cheat casts gnomes right away. I don't really know why they have these cheats, but they're an interesting set of cheats. Each have 10,000 health. They exist. Now, the interesting thing about these guys, they don't really drop anything, and they don't really have a badge associated with them. There's no quest associated with them, and for some reason, they're just here. Now, the reason why I find this to be really interesting, I'm actually not going to do this fight because I'm way too lazy, but the reason why I find this interesting is the fact that for some reason, there is this mysterious well here, just in the middle of the outer yard. Doesn't have any side quests associated with it. It's unlocked immediately once you get here. And the coolest thing is that it's a random 50-50 chance of getting one boss or the other. Again, I don't know why it's like this, but it is here in this mysterious well. For some reason, I don't know why. But it's just a cool little secret boss that is there if you want to fight it. I don't know why exactly you would want to fight it, but it's there. But that is really it for secret bosses. That is all the secret bosses I know throughout this entire game. Now, I know I could have directly showed off some more like in Grizzleheim, but realistically, I think a lot of those aren't really worth showing. They're just simple parts of the dungeon that you can do if you choose to or not. But a lot of these other ones that are actually like secrets are really interesting, to be completely honest. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Did I teach you anything new, or did you find new secret bosses? Or is there something I missed? Is there a secret boss that I didn't mention in here? Because I'm very interested, and I would be very glad to hear what you guys have to say about that. As far as I know, I hit most of the secret bosses in this game. But that's really it. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.